G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildcard. Thank you for watching the Wildcard Rugby Show. This is Super Rugby Review. This is the Waratahs versus Brumbies. Yes, this game was indeed played in the world famous Wet n Wild Super World in Sydney, and this was a massive water slide under 6 feet of water, and yeah, it was quite a lot of fun out there for the players, I guess, but it was definitely a lot of fun for the fans trying to watch this game because both teams decided to walk out onto the field with white jerseys and dark blue shorts and dark blue socks. I know, who came up with this? I don't know, okay? But, it does make a lot of sense if you really think about it, because we know Rugby Australia don't watch rugby, and we know Stan Sport don't watch rugby. I mean, of course, no one's gonna realize that both teams were in exactly the same color codes out there on the field. There were literally times where the players themselves looked like they were confused at who's their teammate, right? And combining that with the rain bucketing down, it was just an absolute nightmare. I mean, I am not even colorblind, and I thought this was difficult to spot who's playing for which team. I don't know how any of the colorblind people out there were able to watch this game at all. Yeah, it was just absolutely horrendous. It is what it is. Rugby Australia, I mean, God, that was bad. And outside of that, I actually thought maybe the gods of rugby has given the Waratahs a chance to win this game, right? They flooded the field with water, they bucketed down the rain, really slow the game down to a grinding halt, and they really limited the ability for the players to spread the ball around the field. And, with the Brumbies knowing that they have such a, good attacking backline, really neutralizing a lot of those dangerous weapons like, Len Ikitau and, Tom Wright for the Brumbies, I thought, hey, this could be a chance for Waratahs to win. Nah, not quite. When you have a water slide out there, the best way to score a try is just sliding towards the try line, right? Brumbies in the last try they scored was literally just the players sliding towards the try line from pick and go. Actually, you should call it pick and slide, right? Pick and slide. Eventually, the Brumbies was able to slide over the try line, and it was just as easy as that. And the Waratahs did have their opportunity to score themselves. Number of opportunities, actually. You can blame on the wet conditions or whatnot, but yeah, it just wasn't clinical enough. But there was one incident tonight, as we all know. Australian rugby players don't know the laws, man. I mean, you can't argue with Ben O'Keefe, man. Ben O'Keefe is, probably the first or second best referee in the world. And then there was the Waratahs trying to take a tap from a penalty, and Jake Gordon failed to tap the ball, and Ben O'Keefe is like, nah, you have to tap the ball forward. And then there was an argument with all the players like, he did tap the ball. And then Ben O'Keefe will have to explain to the entire Waratahs team that the ball had to travel forward after you tap it, right? So here's the law, just in case you don't know what's going on. Taking a penalty or free kick, if it was a quick tap, the ball must be kicked a visible distance. If the kicker is holding it, it must clearly leave the hands. If it's on the ground, it must clearly leave the mark. Once the kick has been successfully taken, the kicker may play the ball again. Yeah, so the tap must leave the mark on the ground, and Jake Gordon, I mean, even from the replay, he hardly looked like he touched the ball at all, right? And this is I'm pretty sure the Waratahs made this exact mistake like a few weeks ago, and I think the commentator was pointing this one out as well. And it was just bizarre. Like the whole team was just like, he tapped it. No, he has to clearly leave the mark. And I know what you're wondering. You might be wondering, like, why does it have to be clear that it's clearly leaving the mark? My guess is that people could potentially fake a tap and then get the opposition to move up to cause an offside, and then take a tap and getting a penalty advantage, and then take a tap and then run the ball. So by tapping the ball clearly off the mark, then the opposition can see when to push out of the mark, right? Whereas if you can just, fake a tap and ball doesn't even move at all, you can potentially, bait the opposition into a immediate penalty advantage, and that is just not really good for the game. That's my only reasoning that I can think of for why this is the law. But yeah, it is there for a reason. It's not just randomly, came up, yesterday, and apparently to the Waratahs, this is a new thing that they've never seen before. But yeah, it is just, again, I think it's bad coaching. The coaches should have gone through these sort of things with their players in training, because, surely a quick tap is a move that you train, right? Surely you've trained, in practice, you've had this played out as an option, and you've had, you would have done this in training, and the coach would have, if you didn't tap the ball properly, the coach would have pointed out to you, hey, that just has to be tapped off the mark for it to be a legal tap. And it was just bizarre to see professional players, the whole team sitting there, oh, what, referee? Please explain to us. I don't understand. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's move on to the game stats. 3 tries to 4, 526 run meters to 313. To be honest, what Waratahs was actually, there were moments the Waratahs were actually clearly had the ascendancy. The second quarter of the game, the second half of the first half was really good for the Waratahs, even though they weren't able to convert that into any points. And then also there was a middle section in the second half where the Waratahs, before this, basically around the time when Jay Gordon screwed up the tap, where the Waratahs had a lot of ascendancy, but the Brumbies was able to execute the limited opportunities they had much better than the Waratahs, even though they had fewer opportunities overall. 19 turnovers conceded, the Waratahs, 9 for the Brumbies. 159 tackles made, 10 missed tackles for the Waratahs. 115 tackles made for the Brumbies, 26 missed tackles. 21 kicks for the Waratahs, 24 for the Brumbies. Even the kicking game wasn't that effective for both teams because the ball wasn't rolling very well. But I do think that the high ball was a little bit better, I think, for the Brumbies. Both teams made numerous attempts, but I think Nwagani Tawasi was really, really good under the high ball. Outside of that, I think the Brumbies had a little bit more ascendancy there. 1 scrum lost out of 13 against the Brumbies. Again, given the wet conditions really made it hard to put pressure on from both teams because of slippery conditions, and both teams seem to be very tame on the scrummaging, trying to kind of stay up instead of trying to assert the dominance to go forward. And finally, 9 penalties considered against the Waratahs and 10 against the Brumbies. Overall, the discipline has been not too bad for both teams. Now, let's have a look at the recap for the points. The Brumbies got the first try on the ball 9 minutes into the game. They had a line-out. This was a pretty good line-out move they have obviously planned out. They had a line-out, and then the ball just kind of popped out. A flat ball to Rob Valentini, crashing into the line. He almost belted over one of them. He was you can clearly hear a massive collision there on the field. Got pretty close, almost over, and then a pick and go for Charlie Cale when going over for the first try for the Brumbies. 9 minutes into the game, the conversion wasn't good. The conversion was good. 7 points to nil. 14 minutes into the game, the Waratahs gets themselves on the ball. There was a weird situation with the ball. This is what I'm saying. This may look like players were confused who's on whose team. There was a little scramble and the ball was loose on the ground. Alan Alatoa scooped it up, throwing it back to his own players, and then everybody, there was 4 Brumbies players just looking at the ball and then not sure who's going to get it. One of the Waratahs players, was it this one here? So there was it was just a really weird. No, sorry, this was a different situation. This was just a really weird situation. There was a bit of a scramble, and then the ball was turned over by the Waratahs. There was looked like there was a knock on, but then there was not knock on. The ball was eventually passed to Dylan Peach, who ran through a gap, and then he linked up with Jay Gordon from an offload for the reply for the Waratahs. 14 minutes, 7 points apiece. 32 minutes into the ball, there was a high ball for Brumbies, and then it was accidentally knocked forward by Riley, and it looked like it was blocked by a Brumbies player, but the referee said there was a knock forward, and then the ball knocked into a Waratahs player. This is the situation where you actually probably, the Waratahs player who caught the ball, probably thought it was a Brumbies player knocked the bat because like everybody's wearing white jerseys, right? And he was in offside position. He just picked the ball up, and the referee's like, nope, you can't pick the ball up. You're offside. It was your own player that knocked it back. So Brumbies taking this 3 points, 7 points to 10, and that was pretty much it for the half time. There was an injury to Harry Johnson-Holmes. It looked like he was landed on his ankle or something, hurt his foot. Ponfa Musili, the new guy that's on loan to the Waratahs from the Rebels, makes his debut for the Waratahs onto the field. Second half started, 42 minutes into the game. There was a Brumbies line-out. Deborcini, flat ball to Tua. He crashed the ball through, and then the ball came out. Another really quick ball to Rob Vanatini. Crashed over for a try. It's 2 minutes into the second half for the Brumbies. 7 points to 17 scoreboard. And then a few minutes later, 48 minutes on the clock. Again, there was a nice little play from Deborcini. There was a nice little loop behind ball. Deborcini got the ball over the top to Len Ikitau, that was on the wing, who ran into the corner. Again, slid into the corner. 7 points to 22. Wasn't able to convert this one. Brumbies putting away on the scoreboard. After these 2 quick tries were scored early in the second half, the game just kind of like stalled for the Brumbies. The Waratahs had a lot of opportunities. 54 minutes, there was like a nice little grabber behind and a mass scramble. And it looked like Mark Nwagani-Tawasi at the ground of the ball. And it turned out Dylan Peach was accidentally touched the ball whilst on the ground. And referee deemed that a knock-on, no try. 58 minutes into the game, there was loose balls everywhere. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, I got confused with this one. This was where there was loose ball everywhere. Alan Alatoa scooped the ball up, passed the ball back. There was like 4 Brumbies players looking at this ball. And then it was Joey Walton just ran up and punted the ball down the field. And all the Brumbies players were just like, oh no, wasn't sure who was going to get it. And Joey Walton punted here, just a little soccer skill, control the ball into the in-goal area, grounds the ball. 14 points as well at Waratahs, get himself back on the scoreboard. 68 minutes into the game, Waratahs were just putting repeated pressure into the Brumbies. There was a lot of, like repeated penalties against the Brumbies inside their own 22. There was knock-ons. Again, the Brumbies will like turn the ball over and immediately knock on. And then eventually, the Waratahs decided to take a quick tap. Jed Gordon, like I said, failed to take the tap. Scrum reversed to the Brumbies. So eventually, 73 minutes into the game was very, very scrappy. Both teams were struggling out there on the field. And eventually, there was a scrum inside the Brumbies 22. And the Brumbies were penalised for early engage in the scrum. Full-on penalty. Jet Halloway took a quick tap, crashed down just in front of the goalpost. The ball came out. Really flat ball from the halfback to Tank Edmund. Crashed over for the third try for the Waratahs. 21 points to 22 with about 5-6 minutes left. And it was looking like this could be a win for the Waratahs. Comeback win for the Waratahs. But no, the Brumbies just kept composure. In the last, 3 minutes or so, over 20 phases of just pick and go, pick and slide, and eventually Kau Tai was able to slide over the try line, scoring the final try for the Brumbies, 29 points to 21 to win now this game. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. Look, a lot of fun out there. Wasn't the greatest rugby that was on display, but yeah, interesting stuff, right? Interesting stuff how, a professional team not really know the laws with the quick tap. And yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later for the Fijian game. And have a good week. Cheers.